38 years. Long enough for an entire generation to be born, grow up, and start families of their own, while one man's condition remained. John tells us Jesus had come up to Jerusalem for a feast, to a pool on the edge of the city, where a man is lying, waiting. Stone columns rise around the water. Other bodies lie near him, some blind, some unable to walk, all waiting for something none of them can control. Jesus sees him. And John tells us something we would otherwise have no way of knowing. Jesus already understood. And knowing that, Jesus asks him a question. Do you want to get well? He asks him a question. It is worth sitting with how strange that is. Why ask? He never actually says yes. Keep that in mind. We'll come back to it. To understand why the question lands the way it does, we have to see where he was lying. The place was called Bethesda in Jerusalem, built around a pool with 5 covered colonnades. A great number of disabled people used to gather there, blind, lame, paralyzed, all waiting for something none of them could control. This man had been in that condition for 38 years. For 38 years. Some manuscripts of John's Gospel include an additional detail here, that an angel would stir the water. An angel would stir the water from time to time. This line is missing from several of the oldest and most reliable Greek manuscripts of John. Whoever entered first after the stirring would be healed. The man himself clearly believed the water mattered. Whatever tradition had grown up around that pool, he had absorbed it completely. Jesus doesn't ask him what happened to him. Jesus asks the one thing that isn't obvious at all. Do you want to get well? It's tempting to fill in an answer for Jesus here. Maybe he was testing the man's desire. Maybe he was inviting the man to participate in his own healing. Maybe the question was meant to expose something. None of them is stated in the text. John doesn't tell us what was in Jesus' mind when he asked it. And the answer is where the real surprise is. The answer is where the real surprise is. The man does not say yes. He does not say yes. He says, "Sir, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. Someone else goes down ahead of me. I have no one to help me into the pool." Jesus asked about an outcome. Do you want to be well? The man answered with a mechanism. Here is why I can't get to the water in time. That's the first real crack in the surface of this story. We can't know exactly what 38 years does to a person's expectations. He assumes that healing runs through the water. Not through Jesus. Through the pool. By the time Jesus found him at Bethesda, his hope for healing seems to have narrowed to one specific shape. Someone he had never had to help him down those steps before anyone else got there first. Not the absence of illness. The presence of the one thing that had always been just out of reach. Notice too what his answer leaves out. He doesn't describe his illness. Not will I be healed, but how do I get there before someone else does? Watch closely what Jesus does next. He doesn't offer to carry him. He doesn't call out for help. He doesn't discuss the water at all. Get up. Pick up your mat and walk. Pick up your mat and walk. 3 short commands, no mention of the pool, and the man stands. The man stands. 38 years of explanation had ended at the edge of that pool. The healing the man had spent decades waiting for arrived without the one thing he was certain he needed. If you've been enjoying tracing these overlooked details, this is the kind of channel we're building here. Now, John doesn't let the story end there, and the detail he adds next is almost as strange as the healing itself. It was the Sabbath. A man who had not walked in 38 years is now walking, carrying the mat he used to lie on. Jewish Sabbath law existed to protect something real, a weekly rhythm of rest. But notice where their attention goes first. A man who could not walk has just walked. The man's own explanation, when pressed, is simple. The man who made me well said to me, "Pick up your mat and walk," which raises a smaller mystery inside the larger one. The gospel doesn't explain the choice. It turns private evidence into public evidence. Whatever else it means, the mat guaranteed that this healing could not stay invisible. When the religious leaders press the man further, "Who told you to do this?" he can't answer. Jesus had healed him in the middle of a crowd and then disappeared into it, unnamed. The story could have ended here. A miracle, an argument about a mat, a mystery healer nobody could name. It doesn't end here. Later, Jesus finds him again. Not at the pool, at the temple. "See, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you." It would be easy and wrong to flatten this into a simple equation. He was sick because he sinned. Jesus is directly asked whether a different man's blindness was caused by his own sin or his parents'. He rejects that framing outright. What the text does give us is this. Jesus sought him out a second time, unprompted, and the man's response to that second meeting is its own small mystery. He goes and tells the religious leaders, which brings us back to where we started. Why did Jesus ask a question he already knew the answer to? We don't have access to what was happening in Jesus' mind when he chose those words. Jesus asked about the outcome the man wanted. The man answered with the solution he believed was required to reach it. And then Jesus healed him by walking straight past that solution, as if it had never been necessary at all. 38 years. And when Jesus finally stood in front of him, the man explained why he couldn't reach the water. Jesus listened, and then never took him there. He simply told him to stand. The man had explained the answer he thought he needed. Jesus gave him something that made that answer irrelevant. Maybe that's why the question came first. Not because Jesus didn't know what the man wanted, but because his answer revealed what he thought had to happen first.